Late at night, a young woman finishes her extra hours at work. The taxi she spotted is taken by a group of guys, leaving her to walk home. As she walks along a dark road, a van approaches, and the driver, Dashik, offers her a ride. She declines, wary of getting into a car with a stranger. Continuing on foot, she hears strange noises behind her. Turning around, she sees the van door open, and someone inside is crying for help. Approaching cautiously, she discovers a pile of clothes and the lifeless body of a man. The person crying for help was Dashik, who now grabs her and pulls her into the van with the intention of killing her before she can escape. Moments later, after calling 911 and changing into clean clothes, Dashik puts on a distressed act when two police officers arrive. He points to where he left the bodies, pretending to have discovered them by accident. He claims to have seen a group of workers stab the woman. A few days later, Kim Kyungmi is at her usual desk in customer service, where she handles calls from other deaf and mute customers using sign language through video calls. Despite facing rude customers who insult her, she handles the calls professionally. After work, she attends a company dinner, though she can't actively participate in the conversation. Unfortunately, the men at the table take advantage of her deafness, making inappropriate comments about her. Little do they know, Kyungmi can read lips. In response, she signs back a series of insults that the men mistakenly interpret as compliments. Later, she picks up her deaf mother from her job at a tailor's shop, preventing an accident with her car's sound sensor. Her mother is thrilled because she received a good paycheck, allowing them to finally go on the beach vacation they've been dreaming of. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Choi Seo-young is preparing to go out. However, her overprotective brother, security guard Jang Tak, is concerned about her safety and argues with her about her choice of clothes and curfew, stemming from their parents' death. Despite promising to be responsible, Seo-young ignores her brother's texts while on a date and stays out later than agreed. Concerned, Jang Tak decides to go out and find her since she isn't answering her phone. Meanwhile, Dashik, with sinister intentions, is on the prowl for another victim. Late at night, Dashik spots Kyungmi leaving her mother near an alarm post. He plans to target her but changes his mind when Seo-young appears on the same street. Seizing the opportunity, he attacks Seo-young, going unnoticed by Kyungmi's mother who is walking the other way. After assaulting Seo-young, Dashik is about to approach Kyungmi's mother, but his plans are interrupted twice. First, Jang Tak stops by to ask the mother about his sister, and then Kyungmi returns from the parking lot. As Kyungmi walks toward her mother, she notices a white shoe emerging from a dark alley, and hears faint cries for help. Concerned, she enters the alley and discovers a crying and bleeding Seo-young. Before she can react, Dashik appears with an axe, targeting Kyungmi. However, Seo-young intervenes, pushing Dashik away and giving Kyungmi a chance to escape. Kyungmi, prioritizing her safety, runs in the opposite direction from her mother. She returns to the parking lot, hides among the cars, and makes her way to the back door with a squeaky handle. As Kyungmi carefully opens the door with a squeaky handle, Dashik hears the noise and starts pursuing her. Luckily, she manages to open the door just in time. Although the door is chained on the other side, she creates enough of a gap for herself to slip through, leaving Dashik on the other side. Kyungmi rushes to her car, alerting her mother to wait by the alarm. After hanging up, Dashik suddenly appears in the back seat with a knife. Forced to drive, Kyungmi takes a daring move and heads toward a wall, stopping just before a collision to give herself a chance to escape. A new chase ensues, and Kyungmi successfully reaches her mom before Dashik catches up. Pressing the alarm button, Kyungmi prevents Dashik from getting closer. As they wait for the police, Dashik, having hidden Seo-jung's body in his van, changes his appearance to look like a regular businessman. He approaches the women with a carefree expression. Kyungmi, unaware of his true identity because he wore a mask and hat during the attack, believes him when he claims to be looking for his sister. About to lead him to the dark alley, Kyungmi is interrupted by the arrival of the police. However, when the officer checks the alley, it is empty. Kyungmi requests to view the security cameras, but the parking lot guard reveals that they've been turned off by kids who hang out there to smoke. The three of them are taken to the police station to file a proper report. In the elevator, Dashik keeps glancing at the weapons in his bag while occasionally looking at the women. Kyungmi's mother notices this and senses that he doesn't seem as sad anymore. To maintain his cover, Dashik pulls out a black phone from his bag, claiming relief at receiving a text from his sister, implying that the body found wasn't hers. After Kyungmi finishes giving her statement, the officer realizes that without a body or a physical description of the killer, there's limited progress. Dashik offers to help, but the cop scolds him for interrupting, and a hobo, who has been sleeping nearby, takes the chance to insult him. Seizing an opportunity, Dashik goes to the water cooler, insults the hobo in a low tone, and provokes him into a physical altercation. During the struggle, Dashik drops a white phone that Kyungmi's mother picks up. The cop separates them, taking the hobo to another room. Dashik retrieves his phone, then uses the excuse of checking Kyungmi's statement to discreetly examine her personal information. As he reads, Kyungmi's mother signals to her daughter that it's suspicious for the man to have two different cell phones. When Dashik notices their interaction, he demands to know what they are discussing. Kyungmi, avoiding suspicion, writes, "Nothing." Dashik then approaches the mother, starts going through his weapons, contemplating his next move. At that moment, a cop arrives with Jong Tak, who is reporting his missing sister. The officer instructs him to show the picture to the others. Dashik pretends not to recognize Kyungmi, but she immediately identifies her missing sister and provides him with her statement to read. As Kyungmi tries to provide more details to the cop, he leaves the room to handle the hobo attempting to re-enter. Seizing the opportunity, Dashik warns Kyungmi's mother not to move or he'll harm her daughter. He reveals the contents of his bag, brandishing a knife as he advances toward Kyungmi. In a tense moment, the mother makes a loud noise, alerting others. Jong Tak turns around just in time to intervene and prevents the knife from reaching Kyungmi. The two men engage in a struggle as the women rush outside to call for help. Dashik admits to harming Seoyun, further enraging Jong Tak, who violently confronts Dashik, even holding the knife to his neck to extract information about his sister's whereabouts. However, their confrontation is interrupted by the arrival of the police. Dashik, cunningly pretending to be a victim, manages to convince the officers of his innocence. In a twist of events, they arrest Jong Tak instead, allowing Dashik to walk away freely. The women are left with Jong Tak as the police review security camera footage, confirming the truth. Jong Tak, determined to find his sister, resumes his search on the streets. The police escort the women to their apartment, equipped with motion-detecting lights. While having tea, the lights signal someone at the door, causing concern as it's late. However, it turns out to be the mother's coworker picking up some bags. The two elderly women leave together, leaving Kyungmi alone in the apartment, unaware that Dashik has arrived and disabled the sensor outside, concealing his presence in the darkness. Inside the apartment, Kyungmi detects someone's presence, prompting her to investigate. Dashik, however, sets off an alarm clock to make her believe it triggered the lights. Once she returns to her room, he systematically disables all the sensors in the house while Kyungmi texts Jong Tak, who had given her his card in case of emergencies. Armed with an axe, Dashik prepares to strike. Just as he is about to attack, Kyungmi notices a toy on the dresser activating without triggering the lights. Reacting quickly, she dodges Dashik's attack, rushes to another room, and barricades the door with a dresser. She texts Jong Tak, alerting him that the murderer is in the house. Simultaneously, she texts her mom, urging her not to return. As the door stops shaking, Kyungmi receives texts from her mom asking for help. Suspicious of the perfectly spelled messages, which contrasts with her mother's usual typing, she realizes that Dashik has her phone. Kyungmi stops moving the dresser just in time for Dashik to appear at the door gap. He attempts to grab her hand, but Kyungmi pulls it back and locks the door. Undeterred, Dashik starts destroying the door with his axe to force his way inside. With no other option, Kyungmi jumps out of the window. Dashik grabs her by the hair as she falls, but she struggles free and lands safely on a pile of trash. Kyungmi resumes running, and Dashik pursues her. Soon, Jontak arrives and joins the chase. After a prolonged chase through numerous blocks, Dashik corners Kyungmi in a closed area, poised to attack. Just as he's about to strike, Jontak arrives on the scene. To prevent Jontak from intervening, Dashik puts his own knife against his neck, threatening to end his own life. This tactic forces Jontak into a dilemma: either Dashik dies, and he never discovers his sister's whereabouts, or he lets the attacker go. In this tense moment, Dashik sends a text to Jontak, revealing Seojung's location and forcing him to choose between the two girls. Jontak, frozen with uncertainty, apologizes to Kyungmi and rushes off to the address provided, Kyungmi's house. However, it's a deception, and the place is empty. Jontak only encounters Kyungmi's mother when she returns home. Meanwhile, Kyungmi attempts to use a chair from the trash to defend herself. Dashik, however, takes it away and uses it to pin her to the ground. While communicating with Jontak on the phone, Dashik criticizes him for abandoning Kyungmi. Seizing an opportunity, Kyungmi throws dirt at Dashik's face, creating a distraction that allows her to push him off and resume her escape. As she reaches the street where Dashik's van is parked, she notices the door open and Seoyoung emerging from it, seeking help with a knife in her hand. Simultaneously, Kyungmi's mother and Jontak reach the closed area, finding it empty. The two girls hide in an alley behind a trash container. Kyungmi urges Seoyoung to call 911, but she refuses, as she can hear Dashik nearby. Kyungmi decides to formulate a plan. Kyungmi devises a plan and writes a message on her phone for Seoyoung, urging her to call her brother since he's nearby. In exchange, Kyungmi takes the knife. While Dashik's back is turned, she leaves the alley and hides, re-emerging just as the murderer is about to find Seoyoung. Kyungmi creates a distraction by making a strange noise with her mouth and shaking a nearby metal shutter. With Dashik's attention diverted, she puts the knife against her own neck, threatening to kill herself and denying him the satisfaction. Dashik pursues her, and as she presses the alarm on a pole once more, Kyungmi restarts the chase around town. Meanwhile, Seoyoung calls her brother for help, and he, along with their mother, rushes to her aid with an ambulance. Seoyoung provides them with the direction Kyungmi has run in. This time, Kyungmi heads towards downtown, hoping that the crowded area will make it more challenging for Dashik to catch her. Crossing a busy street without being able to hear the cars poses difficulties, but she manages to reach the other side and enters a commercial area. Attempting to seek help from people, she encounters indifference due to her inability to speak. With Dashik closing in, she's left with no choice but to brandish the knife in self-defense. The crowd steps back in a circle around them, and a man tries to call the police. However, Dashik intervenes, claiming Kyungmi is her sister with mental health issues, suggesting that the police might agitate her into self-harm. Taking advantage of this distraction, Kyungmi seizes the opportunity to escape. Shortly after, the police locate Kyungmi and bring her back to Dashik, buying into the sister story. They even return the knife to him. Once alone, Kyungmi breaks down in tears. With the limited sound she can produce, she pleads with Dashik not to kill him, emphasizing that she still has much left to do. Unwilling to carry out the act in front of witnesses, Dashik leads her to a nearby alley. He coldly informs her that she almost convinced him, but it wasn't enough, preparing to stab her. Fortunately, Jontak arrives just in time to thwart the attack. A scuffle ensues between the two men, and Jontak manages to restrain Dashik with a chokehold. Upon Dashik losing consciousness, Jontak rushes to check on Kyungmi, reassuring her that Seoyoung is safe at the hospital, and her mom is close by. However, their moment is abruptly interrupted when Dashik, who had pretended to pass out, retaliates by striking Jontak with empty bottles and assorted pieces of trash. Kyungmi intervenes by picking up the knife, prompting Dashik to cease the assault. Seizing the opportunity, Dashik decides to leave the alley, redirecting his focus to going after the mother instead. He locates Kyungmi's mother in the bustling commercial area and approaches her, urging her to follow him into a dark alley. Just as he attempts to lure her away, Kyungmi spots them and confronts Dashik with a knife in hand. Dashik mocks her, pointing out her failure to stab him and only managing to injure his hand. Little does he know, this is part of Kyungmi's plan. She deliberately placed the knife in his hands and inflicted a wound on herself, making it appear as though he was the aggressor. The onlookers step back, falling for the ruse and refusing to listen when Dashik denies responsibility. The police arrive, firing warning shots into the air, but Dashik continues to evade capture. In response, they shoot him multiple times in the body. Despite Kyungmi provoking him by giving him the finger, Dashik persists. However, just as he prepares for another attempt, Seoyoung arrives and tackles him to the ground, bringing an end to his reign of terror. Several days later, Kyungmi and her mother embark on the beach vacation they had dreamed of. Seoyoung and Jeontak join them, showcasing their newfound sign language skills. The four of them share a moment, capturing it in a photograph that symbolizes their triumph over adversity.